Hello everyone, welcome back to the Undercut podcast, the Chinese Grand Prix, Chinese weekend, post-race podcast edition. Obviously, I'm back. I wasn't in the streams. I'm back. I'm back. I got back. I look fatter. I am fatter. I feel fat. I feel like absolute ass. I feel like shit. I ain't gonna lie. Post-holiday syndrome.
Boy.
I'm a big boy, but I'm an engaged man now, so it's okay. I needed the cocktails, but anyway, we
secured it.
I secured the bag. Not that women are objects, by the way. We're not. Oh shit. I didn't mean it like that. All right, jeez, we're not off to a good start. I've been back for 5 seconds and been cancelled already. Right. Anyway, on to business. The Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Well, I've only seen the highlights because Now TV wasn't available in Italy, so I couldn't actually watch the race.
I wonder. I got a message. I did get a message from you saying Now TV is not available in Italy.
Yeah, it's so poor.
Do you not think, because it's partnered with Sky Sports, which is English?
Yeah, but Sky shows Serie A. Every bar I walked in had Serie A on. There was Verona here, Roma there.
Was it Sky that was showing it?
Yeah, it was Sky Sports. It was called Sky Sports Bar. I don't know what that means, but
Sky Sports. What, the bar was called Sky Sports Bar?
No, the bar wasn't. The channel. You know how it has Sky Sports in like the top left corner or whatever. Sky Sports. Instead of saying like one or main event, it said bar. I don't know what that means.
Maybe it's just like the Italian Sky.
Yeah, but Now TV wasn't available, so I couldn't, which is really poor. But anyway, I've seen the highlights. No, but they let me watch the FA Cup. I could watch ITV. I could watch the FA Cup semi-final.
Do you know what you needed?
What?
VPN.
Today's sponsor. No, I'm joking. I was sponsored by a VPN once. I probably should have plugged it. But no, yeah. Either way. VPNs, you want to sponsor us? We got a good case right here for you. But yeah, no, the Chinese Grand Prix. It was a fascinating race from what I've seen from all the 10 minutes that I saw of the race because of
the 10 minutes. I sat there, toiled through all 4 live streams.
Well, go on then, Jack. Tell us 3 talking points from the Chinese Grand Prix or the weekend in general, in your opinion.
3 talking points.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I took anything from the highlights, it's Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll.
Yep.
Mercedes.
Yep.
And I want to touch on Visa Cash App.
Okay.
And a little bit of Shell.
I sort of understand why you want to talk about Mercedes and Stroll, but let's jump to Visa Cash App. Why are they important?
No, they're important. Obviously, double DNF.
Yep.
Double DNF. Both not their fault. But I want to mainly touch on Yuki.
Yeah.
Because obviously Yuki passed races before this. Previous 4. Yeah, 4. Thereabouts in the points.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Qualifying, sprint race, and normal didn't seem to change. 19th.
Yeah.
Down at the back. Why is that? Daniel Ricciardo absolutely minced him this weekend, essentially.
We predicted this, by the way.
We did predict it.
We were on this. We were on this. We predicted. We said if there's one weekend that Daniel Ricciardo is going to show his class, it's going to be the Chinese Grand Prix.
But I don't know if he did show his class. I just think Yuki was off.
How many times has Yuki driven the Chinese Grand Prix? Is it his first time? It would have been. So maybe that's the case. Maybe it's the experience around this track.
Yeah, maybe it is. But
it's interesting. It's interesting when he's like we said, he's been on the pace all season. He's been one of the standout performers of the season so far.
And then you see that, and Daniel didn't actually set anything alight. He did what was expected of that car.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Wait, yeah, I just thought that was quite interesting to see Yuki kind of have a fall from grace in China.
Yeah. And I imagine we'll talk about Stroll and the Mercedes when we do the driver rankings. So, shall we jump right into them, or is there anything else that we need to talk about before we jump right into that? Because you watched the weekend in full.
I did watch the weekend. Touch on the sprint format actually.
Yep. How was that?
I quite enjoyed it.
Was it better than last year?
I enjoyed the fact that we had the sprint race, qualifying race.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that format because you knew it was like it was separated into sections, which was good.
Yeah.
So you had the sprint, anything that happened in the sprint stayed in the sprint, and in the race, anything that happened in the race stayed in the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was quite happy with that, to be honest. I mean, a bit pointless Alonso's getting a 10-second time penalty after retiring in the sprint race.
Yeah.
A little bit pointless that was.
I thought the penalty was harsh as well. I thought it was quite harsh. Yeah.
No.
I mean,
no, it wasn't harsh. It was deserved.
Why?
Because he overcooked it. He overdid it. He went for a move that was not on. Hit Sainz.
Oh, did he hit him?
Hit Sainz.
You can tell I watched the You can tell I watched the highlights. I didn't see all the angles. You see.
He was the one that caused himself the own puncture. He caused it himself. He hit Sainz, caused the damage, caused the problem, and he deserved the penalty because he was caused a collision.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
It's as simple as that. And I do think when it comes to that circumstance where, yeah, he's affected himself, but he's affected other drivers while he's at it. 10 seconds in the sprint, even though he was out already, it just had no effect on him whatsoever. Maybe it should have been a 3-place grid penalty for qualifying.
Yeah.
Because you can't just hit a driver, cause a collision, and get no reprimand for it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that I noticed that was a big talking point. The whole battle between Charles, Carlos, Fernando, all them.
It was a crazy end to the sprint race.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but either way, I mean, let's just get to the driver ratings, shall we?
Let's get to the driver ratings. I do want to touch on Aston Martin when we get to them as well.
Okay, we will do. We'll do. So, who has the results up? I will get the results up.
I do not, so you get
I'll get the results. See, I'm usually the guy getting the results, but from obviously the fact that we're doing this online and I wasn't here is making this a little bit more difficult than usual. But either way, yes. So, okay, so yeah. So this is going to work a little bit differently, and this is the worst weekend for me to come in, have watched the highlights, and try to do the driver ratings, because obviously we base the driver scores off the whole weekend, not just the race. Yeah. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia, we factored in the fact that Zhou binned it in FP3, which then obviously led to his downfall in qualifying and ultimately affected his whole weekend. So that's how we score the drivers based on their weekends. So they could have had an amazing race, a shit quali, but they're not getting any higher than a 3. But in this case, the sprint weekend means it's factored in. You have to factor in the sprint weekend. If they have a shit sprint but then a great race, it's a 3 still, probably.
Well, let's be honest though, your ratings not that relevant anyway.
They're not. I'm probably gonna try and give my opinion. I reckon there's one that I probably will get spot on, and then the rest I'll probably just have to leave up to you convincing me or you just telling me anyway. So,
well, that's what we do every weekend. Yeah, always.
Shut up. Right, let's go. Valtteri Bottas.
Bottas, yeah. So, did you see Bottas? Anything about Bottas?
It didn't really show anything apart from him retiring. I know he qualified 10th, so he had a good qualifying. Sprint.
Top 10 sprint, top 10 qualifying. Well, top 10 sprint qualifying.
Yep.
Top 10 sprint. decent sprint race. Obviously retired, but he was driving very, very well during the race. He was in the top 10 there as well, on points without the engine failure. Honestly, you can't look at it like he's outperformed that car. He's outperformed his teammate consistently the whole weekend. It's a 5.
You think so?
It's a 5. What did he do wrong?
For me, I think personally, I mean, I can't really argue with anything you say because I wasn't there to watch the whole race, and as we know, the highlights never really focus on the back guys as much as the front guys. I'd give him a 4 only because from what I saw from Bottas, I wasn't there, and I feel a bit wrong giving a 5 to someone that I haven't seen. Haven't really got a valid opinion on. But from looking at the results, looking at the timing sheets, he finished behind Zhou in the sprint. I can only feel maybe if he finished in front of him, it could be a 5. You got to factor that in. Obviously, great qualifying, out-qualified him on both occasions, and also, like you said, was running a good race before he retired. So I give him a 4. Don't think he did anything particularly
He was
wrong.
top 10 in the race until the retirement. And the sprint race, Zhou did overtake him kind of off track.
Oh, really?
And he got sandwiched. And he did drop back a couple of places to then come back up to the back of Zhou.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So there were circumstances which caused Bottas to drop behind Zhou.
And these are the circumstances that you don't see in the highlights, which is unfortunate.
No. That's why it's a weak 5, but it's a 5 for Bottas.
Yuki Tsunoda. I think even though the weekend hasn't been there for me as much as it was for you, I got to give him a 2 just because even if there was ways to explain away his performance, the stats don't lie. He's been outperformed by Ricciardo. He's simple as that. It's got to be a 2 based on the consistency that he's been giving from the car. The car shouldn't be in that bottom pack. Obviously retired, not his fault. But that's why it's not a 1, for example. But we hold Yuki to high standards now. And I'll
tell you this.
Yeah.
Sprint quali, 1. Sprint race, 1. Qualifying, 1. Race, 3.
So it's a high 1, low 2.
Yeah, and I'll give him a 2 purely off the basis was if Magnussen hadn't hit him, I do think Yuki may have been top 10 ahead of Hulkenberg.
There was a chance.
It would have been a close battle at the end.
Okay, that's fair enough. But the whole, as we say, we've got to look at the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So
which, if he had got top 10 in the race starting 19th, that's a 4 race.
Yeah.
Which you could then argue a high 2, low 3.
And
he's recovered the weekend. But
we got to remember as well, Yuki Tsunoda, I think, is the 3rd in our rankings anyway. He's had 5s a few times.
Yeah,
from a few races.
He's been held to high standards now.
Yuki Tsunoda's had a very, very good season so far.
Yeah.
I don't think this one derails him as much as maybe people might think it does, because recency bias is definitely a big thing, especially in the F1 community. But you got to hold him to that standard now.
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, out-qualified Yuki. Doing well. Steady 3. Good race so far, to be fair. Where was he? He was just behind Oscar, George. So that would have put him 8th without the Stroll crashing into him. He'd have been on for a top 10 finish in the race.
You would have thought so.
And he was faster than Hamilton, although he hadn't pitted yet at that point.
Yeah.
He was on mediums. He did medium, so he did have to pit, which would have put him last anyway.
Yeah.
So they would have fucked up his strategy. So he wouldn't have been on for a top 10 finish.
Man's calculating the race in his head.
Yeah, I am. No, I'm going to give him a 3.
Yeah, I give Ricciardo a 3. I think from what I've seen, he had a solid weekend. Obviously outperformed Yuki, but it wasn't anything special. Maybe if he'd scored a point here or there, maybe it would have been a 4. But
Yeah, if he got points out of it, it would have been a 4.
yeah, maybe even a 5. You don't know. It depends how good the point
No,
score
because
was.
his qualifying wasn't amazing.
That's fair enough. Logan Sargent. I mean, this is one of him and someone we'll talk about later. Not going to mention the name yet. Just not good enough.
All that I am going to say about this was Lance Stroll made another pit stop after his 10-second time penalty, served the 10-second time penalty in the pit stop, and then still got overtaken by Lance Stroll. Logan did.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that out there.
Now, I'm going to leave my score up to you, but I want you to decide for me, right? I'm between a high 1 and a low 2. The only reason I wouldn't give him a 1 is because he didn't bin it. But obviously, you watched the race. You had first-hand experience of how bad his race actually was. Obviously, I can look at the results and go, that is shit. But I'm going to let you make the decision for me. Is it a 1 or is it a 2?
It's a 2 for Logan's standards because he was having a half-decent race, to be fair to him, up until about halfway through.
Okay.
He was doing well.
Yeah.
Sprint wasn't too bad. He wasn't that far off Albon most of the weekend until the race, really, and qualifying.
Yeah.
But the sprint side of things, he wasn't too far off, to be fair.
Okay.
So it's a 2.
It's a 2, yeah.
But it's not good enough.
No.
To drop behind Lance after a pit stop and a 10-second penalty is not good enough.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, Kevin Magnussen.
We're on K-Mag now, yeah. That's the 10-second time penalty.
Yeah. I think it has to be a 2 for K-Mag. I think.
Does it?
Yeah, because the thing is, taking into account where Hulkenberg was during the weekend, and Hulkenberg makes it into Q3, Hulkenberg gets points in the actual race, which is what matters. K-Mag had a good sprint race and he had a decent sprint qualifying, but I think he's nowhere in the race.
He got outdone by Hulkenberg in pretty much all scenarios, apart from sprint quali, which Hulkenberg got held up, he felt, during sprint quali.
Yeah, he felt, and Magnussen also, remember, he did finish ahead of Hulkenberg in the sprint quali, but the thing is, if Hulkenberg, like we said this a few races ago. I remember, I forgot which race it was.
Probably Australia.
It was Australia, it might have been. We said that if Hulkenberg didn't get held up, because Magnussen out-qualified him by quite a bit, but we said if Hulkenberg didn't get held up...
Maybe it's Saudi.
Yeah, then Hulkenberg's with him. And, and then the fact that Hulkenberg beats him is like... it's not a great look.
See, I would agree with the 2 of you for the whole weekend. But his move on Yuki was that stupid and naive, especially of a man of his experience. Like, it's unfathomable what he actually did there. It was stupid. Like, the move that overtake, you could see before he'd even gone for the move what was going to happen. That's how stupid it was, and it was so naive to do it. It's a 1.
Fair enough.
There's no excuse for it. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid by Magnussen.
And you know what? Actually, I'm going to change my score, and I'm going to agree, because I said Logan doesn't get a 1 because he didn't bin it, but Magnussen kind of did.
And he caused another driver to go out of race.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stupid from Magnussen. That is stupid. And I can tell you now, Gunter Steiner would be slamming the door in his face.
Yeah, you would. Right, here we go. Lance Stroll.
1.
Yeah.
If I could give a 0, it'd be a 0.
It's not good enough.
Could I give a 0?
No.
Why?
No, because the averages have to be 1 to 5, don't they? So
What? Can't I not do a 0.5?
no, because then we're playing with fire.
This was dreadful.
Yes. And I messaged you after I watched the highlights as well of the race. I was like, there's one thing that I take away from this. It's the fact that Fernando Alonso is fighting a Red Bull into turn 1, and Lance Stroll is fighting Kevin Magnussen halfway through the race for last. That is mental. You can't do... Like, we've been saying, maybe it's a 2 for Stroll. He didn't bin it. You know, he was kind of close here or there. Like, maybe we got a bit unlucky. It's getting ridiculous now. When your teammate is fighting for top 3 places in qualifying and fighting the Red Bulls into turn 1 ahead of the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Mercedes, and you are battling Kevin Magnussen, who we've already given a 1, by the way, for last place, is absolutely abysmal. You can't do that. That's ridiculous.
Well, what tipped me over the edge with Stroll this weekend? Like, I know he's not good enough, so I expected qualifying 15th. He's not getting anywhere. Qualifying 11th. He's not getting anywhere. But what tipped me over the edge was that crash. The audacity for him to then blame Ricciardo.
He went straight into the back of Ricciardo. Does man not know how to drive?
Like, if you watched it on board, 1, he was far enough away to brake.
Yeah.
2, he's then saying, they all just suddenly broke in front of me. How come no one else in front went into the back of each other? Because they're bloody eyes open watching.
Because they're brains.
They're good drivers.
Yeah.
And then, what's really annoying me about Aston Martin is, come on, my crack, you can suck one. Right?
Can suck on my crack.
Saying, right? They've not looked at it properly, FA. It's a rash decision and it's harsh.
Bullshit.
Right, where's Aston Martin got that from then? Absolutely stupid, the lot of them. All of them need their brains checking. The whole Aston Martin team, apart from Alonso, the lot of them, fuck them off.
I would not be surprised if Stroll gets replaced. Like, it's getting that bad. He has to be.
Honestly, it's actually outraged me the way Aston Martin and Lance Stroll have handled that weekend and that incident.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. I can't believe we gave... Stroll is... No. Just a madness. Either way...
Absolutely stupid. It's a 1. Like, if I could give him less than a 1, I'd give him less than a 1.
Yeah.
Pure stupidity.
Let's move on to the homeboy, Guan Yu Zhou. It was a bit of a tipsy-turvy weekend for him, wasn't it? Really, from what I saw, he was doing well in one session, then the next he wasn't, and then the next he was doing well again, and then he wasn't. Like, where was Zhou? Like, I'll be honest. I give him a 3. Right, I think he was there with Bottas. Sauber looked strong. Zhou looked like he could bring the pace out the car. He was near to Russell in the sprint. So
the sprint section of quali and the race, you can't give him a 5 because Bottas out-qualified him. But he held his own against Bottas in the sprint. Bottas didn't really overtake him. He was thereabouts with Russell, wasn't too far off. So it's a 5 race, but it's a 4 for the sprint section.
Yeah.
Then quali came about, and it was back to Zhou as normal, and Bottas was 10th. So that's a 2.
Yeah.
So then, the race... Did he make progress? No. Did he make good moves? Yes. Did he put the soft tyres on at the end to go back through people? Yes. He was aggressive. It's a high 3 for the whole weekend.
Yeah, I'd give him a 3. I don't think he deserves a 4 because
it's not quite a 4. I think if he qualified maybe 12th in qualifying for the race, I think we could argue a 4.
Yeah.
But I think because he was 16th, I think it's still a 3.
I agree. I can agree to
But
that. Yeah.
it was one of his better weekends, and that's what we need to see from Show on a more consistent basis now.
Like, we don't expect him to beat Bottas. We don't.
No, but we expect him to be there with Bottas.
If that's his performance every weekend, and a few drivers from the front of the pack, i.e. Hamilton, Leclerc, whoever it may be, if they retire, crash, whatever it is, they're laughing. Sauber are laughing. They're there. They're 9/10. There's a couple of good points they could have.
Yeah.
So that's where Zhou needs to be. Anyway, Pierre Gasly.
Right. Well, I know where you're going with this. And
I actually don't.
If you'd watch my live streams, you will understand what I'm about to say to you.
What?
I think he's had a better weekend than Ocon.
Now, here's the thing. The highlights showed nothing of the Alpines. I ain't gonna lie. I saw maybe one Alpine, the whole highlights, maybe 40 minutes there was of highlights. I saw one Alpine, right? So I'm just gonna let you take this away. I'm gonna put what you put. I'm being a sheep. I'm gonna let you take it away.
As a weekend, this was Alpine's best weekend of the year.
It does look like that based on the results.
Yeah, and where was Ocon?
Ocon was 2 places above Gasly, I believe. He finished in 11th.
Now, in the sprint, Gasly was about to make a move on Ocon, and Ocon ran him wide. Pushed him off the track, okay? But, let me tell you this. Esteban Ocon had the new floor update and the new chassis lightweight update.
He did.
Gasly had the old car.
Yeah.
Gasly wasn't far off him in qualifying. He wasn't far off him in the race. He was about to overtake him in the sprint. Now, either them updates are not working, or Ocon's had a pretty poor weekend with them updates.
Yeah. It could be a bit of both. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be. But what would be interesting to see if Gasly has the updates and destroys Ocon.
That'll be the real test.
That would be the test. No, I don't think Gasly's had a bad weekend, to be fair. So I'd give him a 3 for that Alpine. Okay,
that's fair enough. I mean, from what I see from the results, and I didn't see any Alpines in the highlights, but they, they're about where they are. You can't say
it's where they should be. Better weekend than normal. Seems to be in and amongst the pack now.
Yeah,
which is good, but people might see, where did Ocon finish? Was it 12th? 11th. People might see Ocon 11th and an Alpine mega weekend 4.
Yeah.
Say you seen that, hadn't seen any of the highlights, and you saw Ocon 11th. That's a 4. He's had a mega weekend.
Yeah.
Couple places above his teammate with them updates, and then obviously safety car, other circumstances, all of that jazz.
Yeah.
Has put him in that position.
Yeah.
So when we get to Ocon, it's not a 4, it's still a 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I've already given my Ocon take as well,
though. Yeah, you've given your Ocon take.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well write Ocon down as a 3 then, because I'll let you dictate my Ocon score. Because I did not see any Alpines the whole weekend, which is really annoying. I've really realised it. You cannot get the full picture from watching the highlights. You really can't.
No, you can't.
So yeah, just actually
that's
watch
why
the
you
race.
need to watch my live streams.
Yeah, that's why you need to watch the live streams. Undercut. Alex Albon finished 12th. Now I think it's a 3 from me for Albon, because it's not quite a 4. I think he's where Williams should be. Kind of similar to the Alpines. They're in and amongst the pack. He beat Logan Sargent quite comprehensively in all sessions.
He wouldn't beat Logan Sargent by quite comprehensively.
Obviously, but that's Logan's fault, not Albon's.
Although, I think during the sprint and the sprint quali, he wasn't beating Logan comprehensively.
Yeah, but he's still beating him.
Yeah.
He's still beating him. And then also in the race as well. And then in qualifying, obviously making it to Q2. It's the same. The thing is
playing devil's advocate.
I know you're playing devil's advocate, but it's the same story every single weekend. Albon makes it to Q2, Logan Sargent doesn't, and then 50% of the time, Albon might score a point or two, and Logan Sargent either retires, bins it, or finishes last. And that's how every weekend, it's the same story.
It's what you expect, but what I will say is Albon in that Williams, what we expect of him, he shouldn't be finishing behind the Alpine. He shouldn't be finishing behind the Haas.
No, I don't know, because I think also...
But has he scored a point this year yet?
I don't think he has he? No, he must have done. But then again, right, the points this year are circumstantial because the top 5 are pretty much clear of the rest of the pack. They are. So
has Ocon got a point yet?
No.
Did he not get a point in Saudi?
No, I don't think he did he? No, he didn't.
Are you sure?
Let's have a look at the table. We're having a look at the table. Did Ocon get a point? Ocon did not get a point. The only drivers to get points. The only drivers to get points that aren't the top 10 are Yuki, Hulkenberg, and Magnussen. That's it. Yeah, but this is what I mean. Like the top 10 is like last year. That was a lot more varied.
Yeah, it was. But that's three times Hulkenberg's finished 10th. Is that Haas that much better than the Williams, where
I think
it finished 3 out of 5 races in the top 10?
I think it is. From what I've seen, I think the Haas has more pace. I really do, and this is why Magnussen is getting such low scores, because he should not be. He should be delivering based on where Hulkenberg's performances are at. But Albon, I don't think he can do any better. I think he is genuinely. I think that is where the car is at, and that's why I'd give him a 3. If Albon scores a point, I'm giving him a 4. The same way we've given 4s to Hulkenberg and Magnussen when they've scored points.
I don't know. I've just got an expectation for Albon. If there's a point up for offer, he should be the one there.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we demote everyone else's scores based on that factor, everyone is going to be getting 2s or lower. You know what I mean? So it's like at some point you've got to say, well, that's where the car is meant to be. It's not great, but it's also not. He was within the chance, and unless it's a ride or die situation, constructors is on the line. You need to get this point, or else we'd finish behind such and such. Then I don't think it's necessarily a 2. I'd give Albon a 3 just because he beat Logan.
Maybe. Yeah. I was giving him a 3 anyway. I was just saying.
No, it's good to play devil's advocate because you never know. You might unlock some new thought process. You never know.
A pointless ramble, to be honest.
Right. Well, we've done Ocon.
Yeah. Sorry.
Nico Hulkenberg. I think I know where. I think I know what Hulkenberg's getting from me.
What?
I'm gonna give. No, hear me out. I'm gonna give Nico Hulkenberg a 4. A high 4. I almost gave him a 5, but we're factoring in sprint. If this weekend didn't have the sprint, it would be a 5 for Nico.
Why is it a 4 from the sprint for you?
Because obviously we know in qualifying it might have not have been his fault.
He got
potentially
impeded.
He got impeded, but the race he didn't make any progress. So I feel as if that demotes his score. It's not. The thing is, with the sprint weekends, it's harder to get a 5 because it has to be a perfect weekend. You know what I mean? When we say a perfect weekend based on what you expect of the driver, and the car, it's like Carlos Sainz gets a 5 because he did everything he could with the Ferrari and then he won the race. Nico Hulkenberg could have made some progress based on where that Haas's pace showed, and if something had happened up front, he would have been there to collect the point. The same way we can't give Albon any higher than the 3 because he didn't capitalise on He only beat his teammate. He didn't capitalize on maybe getting potential points. But then on the flip side of that, Nico Hulkenberg had a great qualifying for the actual race. Had a great actual race. Scored a point. Decent points for Haas. So.
Yeah, no, I'll give him a 4 as well. I just wanted to hear your reasoning.
Fair enough. There we go. Right, okay then. Let's move on to Lewis Hamilton. This is a really hard one, actually. This is difficult.
Sprint quali, sprint race is a 5.
Yeah, he did everything he could.
Qualifying, he made the mistake. It's a 1.
Well, I'd give him a 2.
No.
I think it's Mercedes' fault for sending him out on one run.
They didn't send him out on one run.
He only had one run in Q3.
He didn't make to Q3.
I mean, sorry, he only had one run in Q1.
No, he was out twice in Q1.
Was he?
I watched it.
See, this is guys, don't watch the highlights. That's all I'm saying.
I watched it. Paul at first lap, had to do good second lap, made the mistake into the penultimate corner, which cost him getting out of Q1.
Yeah.
His mistake, his lockup, it's a 1. But he's had 2 5s before that. And in the race, he's come from 18th to 9th in a car that he was literally moaning about the whole time.
A tractor.
He literally came on the road. This car is so slow.
If the 5th fastest car this weekend, by the way. It was slower than Aston, McLaren, and Ferrari this weekend.
Yeah. So in the race, you give him a 4 for the recovery to get back in the points. So
yeah.
what do you give him for the whole weekend?
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's so difficult. I'm gonna give Lewis Hamilton a 3. Right. Here's my reasoning. I think personally, the only reason I'm giving him a 3 is because if you give Lewis Hamilton a 4 when he's getting beaten by George Russell in the main qualifying and the main race, I think it kind of, because we always say
he got beat by George in the main qualifying, like that's hands down.
Yeah.
The race, George had a decent race, to be fair to him, but I think he got gifted the position with Aston Martin doing the shit strategy with Alonso. So Alonso couldn't make the position back up. Give him another 3 laps, Alonso would have been ahead of George. So, realistic terms, obviously George has finished 6th, Lewis finished 9th. If Aston Martin hadn't done the shit strategy that it was, it would have been George 7th, Lewis 9th. Which you got to look in the perspective. Lewis has come from 18th, and he's thereabouts, not far from his teammate was in sight.
I think I got to give him a 3 for that qualifying. The sprint showing
the qualifying's where it's fuzzy.
It's the issue is you've the sprint qualifying race is not as important as the qualifying race. You've got to factor that in.
What I would give Lewis is a 3.75.
Yeah, that's where I'm about at. I'm about a high 3. Right?
And I'm gonna jot it down at a 3 on the basis of he couldn't get on the back and overtake Piastri. With Piastri had small damage, very minuscule damage, but damage nonetheless on the rear after the Stroll hit Ricardo. Ricardo did nudge the back of Piastri as well.
Yeah.
So there was small rear damage, not much to offset it, but a little bit. And the fact that Lewis couldn't get on the back, that's what leaves it at a 3. If Lewis ever took Piastri, it'd be a 4.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give him a 3.
Yeah, I think it's just about a 3. I mean, that's really harsh because that sprint race is proven.
It's 5.
Everyone's saying that Hamilton's washed has just been proven so wrong by that. The sprint has just shown Hamilton's class through and through, without a doubt. But yeah, it's a 3 for Lewis Hamilton. Moving on to the big boys, Oscar Piastri.
I'm interested as to what you're going to say here.
I'm going to say, right, now obviously you can correct me because you've seen his performances, right? I've got to give him a 2. Again, 3 2s in a row.
Thank God you've said that.
Because the issue is, he's not had a bad season. He's consistently scored points. He's in the champion. He's got good results. But when your teammate is doing that, you can't be. He's been outperformed in the sprint quali, the sprint, the quali, and the race through and through. And your teammate is putting it on pole as well. Like, come on, man.
And people are going to say, like, people who just looked at the results are going to say, oh, what are these two on about? Oscar Piastri is not that far behind Lando in the sprint race. The only reason he's not that far behind was because the battling started commencing.
Yeah.
Without the battling, Oscar was almost 10 seconds back.
Yeah.
From that group. He needs to be in that group. He is that group. Why is he not there? Why is he 10 seconds back? Race. Yeah. People are going to say, oh, he had the damage at the end. That's why he's so slow and couldn't get up to the back of him. No, I'm not having that. All race, he was slower, losing seconds to the guys in front that he should have been with. Yeah. Seconds, a lap. Lap. He was miles behind, way off the pace of everyone. Poor weekend from Oscar. It's a 2.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, he obviously is going up against Lando Norris, but it's not like a Perez situation.
It's where is that McLaren? And that McLaren this weekend was the second quickest car.
It's not like a Perez situation where if he finishes 10 seconds behind Max, you're still giving him a 4 because that's what Red Bull expect, and you're going up against quite literally probably the best driver on the grid at the moment.
After what he's shown us last season, yeah.
Oscar, however, is expected to be more on the pace of Lando because McLaren need them to be on the pace, on a similar pace. They do,
especially when they're the second fastest car.
They're battling they're battling 3 or 4 teams. Red Bull are in a league of their own. They could win the constructors with Max just by himself.
But battling with Ferrari
and Aston Martin and Mercedes, you've got to finish in front of them all. They need him to be.
Yeah, and he only finished ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Lance Stroll this weekend, and Lewis started 18th, and Stroll
exactly
was Stroll.
Stroll got a 1, so there you go. That's all you need to know. Yeah. So yeah, Fernando Alonso. I'm going to put this out there.
No, don't you dare say 5.
I'm going to give him a 3. I'm giving him a 3 because. Oh, I don't. Oh. Wait. Let me.
Fernando's qualifyings are 5s.
Yes.
He qualified P3 for the sprint. He qualified P3 for the race.
Yeah.
In the Aston Martin. Outqualified by the 2 Red Bulls. The wet came along, outqualified by Lando and Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay. Beat Max as well in qualifying for the sprint in the wet, just saying. So they're both 5s.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Yeah.
Sprint race. That race, with the pace that he had, he was holding out 3rd beautifully.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautifully. So it was a 5 up until the mistake, which put him down to a 2.
Yeah.
So the sprint race, you'd give him overall a 3 because that was a huge, costly mistake that ended up seeing him out the race.
Yeah.
Well, you could no, he took himself out the race completely for the sprint. It's a 2.
Yeah.
And that's being lenient because he was having such a 5 for the sprint. So the sprint race is a 2. And in the main race, we get onto that. He was battling the Ferraris. Aston Martin put him on the softs. I don't know if that was a Fernando call or an Aston Martin call, but it was the wrong call.
It was the wrong call.
It started off working quite well for him. He was up in 5th. He was holding that position, making it his own. And the way that he was racing, no, he was 4th actually, wasn't he? He was 4th or 5th anyway. And holding his own against Carlos, George, Charles, battling, doing it all. And obviously distracted him a lot. So the race, again, up until, I think the race, you got to give him a 4 for the race.
Yeah.
Because let me put it this way to you, right? How many laps was the race? Oh my God.
It's like 50 something, right?
56, I think it was.
Yeah.
58 maybe. 50. Anyway, he was 12 seconds behind George Russell, right? After he overtook Oscar Piastri, and that was with about 5-6 laps to go.
Yeah.
Did he only finish 5 behind him?
Something like that.
All I'm saying is he came on a charge. He was behind Hulk. He was 12th after the pit stops, bear in mind, and there was something like 12, 13 laps to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely minced it. Overtake everyone. Holding it's a 4 for the race, it's a 5 for the qualies, it's a 2 for the sprint.
Is it an overall 4?
I think it's the same situation as Hamilton, you know.
I think Alonso's a bit different though, because I think he managed to consistently. Oh, I don't know. It is the same situation as Hamilton, isn't it? Really?
It's the same situation as Hamilton, because effectively he took himself out of the sprint when he was on for really good points.
He took himself.
He took himself out of the sprint race, like Hamilton took himself out of Q1,
and potentially more points.
Yeah, and barring that, they both had flawless weekends, so it's a 3 again.
So yeah, I think comparing what we gave to Hamilton, it is kind of harsh, but at the same time, it was his fault that he didn't score points.
Simple as that.
So,
if it's your fault and it's these drivers who are experienced, should be showing the stuff, and they make the mistake at the crucial time, and they've taken themselves out of that scenario.
Yep. And a 3 isn't a bad 3 isn't a bad result either.
3 isn't bad, no, but
it's the punishment that you get for
it's,
you know,
they've had 3 amazing sessions, but 1 horrible session each.
One that drags it down, yeah.
And it's they're both crucial sessions each.
They are very crucial sessions.
Sprint race, points on the line. Qualifying for Hamilton, poor position.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about George Russell then, shall we? George is a weird one, in it. It's kind of like he was very quiet, didn't see much of Russell. Obviously went out in Q2, had a good sprint race to come back, had a good qualifying, obviously out-qualified Hamilton, and then had a steady race, ended up finishing a few places above where he started. Once again, it's a classic Russell weekend where he kind of just exists and gets a few points.
See, now, I know Hamilton finished behind Russell in the race.
Yeah.
But Hamilton was quicker than Russell over the whole weekend.
Yeah. I think that's obvious to see.
Sprint quali, very poor from Russell. That's a 2.
Yep.
Very poor. You can say that's the team's fault for where he went out, blah, 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 blah. But crucially, he didn't get a good enough time while the track was dry.
No, he didn't.
And that's his fault again. It's a 2.
It's not awful, but
sprint race, he wasn't that far. It wasn't an awful qualifying position for him to be honest. So you looked at it, started on the softs as well, did really well to get the softs at the end. To be fair, in the sprint race to him. But without Fernando's Alonso thing, he wasn't getting in the points. But he had a good. And it's a 3 sprint race because that's where you expected him to be.
And also, he made sure he was in the position, like we were saying earlier with Albon. He made sure he was in the position early in the race to capitalise on those sort of mistakes from other drivers. And he was there instantly.
He was there, but in the end, he didn't beat Oscar Piastri again.
Nope.
And Oscar was miles behind. George was miles behind that scenario as well.
Yeah.
So it's a 3 for the sprint race for George. Qualifying for the race, qualified 9th?
Yes. I believe it was 9th, I believe. He qualified. He qualified. Oh, no, he qualified 8th in front of Hulkenberg. Behind Sainz.
Yes. That's where you expect the Mercedes to be.
Yep.
Average qualifying session, it's a 3.
Yep.
Race finished 6th.
In front of Alonso and Piastri.
Obviously, he beat Piastri. Alonso, again, he wouldn't have been ahead of Alonso without that poor Aston Martin strategy. He wasn't close to them lot really.
I'd say
a move.
I'd put it as he beat Alonso because the poor strategy. He beat Piastri, but you expect a driver of Russell's caliber to, even though the Mercedes is dog, and that's where you expect it to be, maybe picking off one of the drivers here or there, just because that's the type of driver Russell is. You hold him to that kind of standard.
And Carlos Sainz had 12-lap older hard tyres than George Russell, and he didn't put him under any form of pressure.
I'd argue yes, but also I don't think
12 laps.
Yeah, I don't think that. The thing is, though, with that is like I don't think the Mercedes is good enough. It's a tractor of a car, as we were saying with Hamilton.
At the end of the day, though, 12 laps of degradation on Carlos Sainz's hard tyres. George Russell had brand fresh tyres on the safety car restarts. Carlos's were old. Didn't even pose a threat to Carlos. Carlos didn't even need wing mirrors in that race. Didn't need them. George put nothing on him. When you've got fresh tyres and you're in a tractor of a car, if George got in front of Carlos, I think he would have stayed in front of Carlos.
Yeah.
That's the scenario you got to think about. If he got in front of Carlos, his tyres were fresh enough to be in front of Carlos. Just put him under no pressure whatsoever. And I think Carlos, worn tyres, obviously had the incident in sprint, had a major save in qualifying. Well, didn't save it, but lucky boy in qualifying.
Yeah.
You can't say George has to put him under some form of pressure, and he didn't.
He probably
and I'm
should.
being harsh, but it's a 3.
Oh, I don't think a 3 is harsh. I think a 3 is about right. He beat Hamilton in the sprint, not the sprint, the quali and the race. He scored decent points. It's about where Mercedes expect him to be. He managed to beat one of the McLarens, which, as you mentioned, was the second fastest car. He beat Alonso, and he made good progress in the sprint despite having a poor qualifying. So it is a 3. I think it's pretty average.
Yeah,
from George Russell. It's not a bad weekend, but there were a few things where possibly he could have improved upon, which is why it's 3. Carlos Sainz. Now this is weird because I'm not used to talking about Carlos Sainz this early on in the driver ratings because
neither am I.
He's usually up there on the podium, but
neither am I. Out-qualified his teammate in the sprint.
Yep.
Charles got caught out by the rain, to be fair.
But then Charles beat him in the sprint.
Charles looked quicker overall, just a whole weekend over Carlos. Obviously made the mistake in Q2 in the race quali.
Yep.
Not near. It's a 3. Maybe even a 2.
It's not a 2 because he still scored decent points.
He scored.
You know what I
Did he
mean?
get 5th?
Yeah, you can't give. And it wasn't like Charles won the race, right? If Charles had gone on to win the race or even get a podium in the sprint and the race, then it's a 2. But he was close to Charles, despite being beaten by him. He was close to him. They were close to each other, and he scored decent points. It's a 3. I don't think it's a 2.
Yeah,
and it's definitely not a 4.
Let's hurry up.
We are. Well, it's sprint weekend, so we got more to talk about.
These top 5. I know, but I've got work in 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
I've got to get ready.
Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc, great. Beat his teammate pretty much all weekend. Looked racy, looked everything. I'd give him a 4.
Yeah. I mean, I think
if you're giving science a 3, Charles is a 4.
Yeah, but has he done enough for it to be a 4?
Yes, he was miles ahead of his teammate, way quicker than his teammate. You could clearly see he was beating his teammate the whole weekend.
Okay, we'll give him a 4 then.
Right. I mean, they had the 3rd fastest car. They had the 3rd fastest car this weekend, Ferrari.
Checo Perez is an interesting one.
Is it
a very interesting one?
6th sprint quali.
Yeah.
Got 3rd in the sprint race, but that was down to Alonso taking out Sainz.
Yep.
Better than that, he was 5th. Couldn't make a move. Got stuck behind Alonso for the whole thing. Couldn't overtake him. He could not overtake Alonso the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch me on the live stream, the amount of times I said, right, Perez is stuck behind Alonso, here we go again. It was about 10 minutes of Perez stuck behind Alonso. In that Red Bull, that's not good enough. Obviously, finished behind Lando in the race as well. It's not a fabulous weekend from Perez. I'd say it's just a 3 for that Red Bull.
I'd agree. It's a 3. It's not awful. It's not like
it's not a 2
on the podium.
It's not quite a 2, but it's not a standout 3. It's like a 3.25. Like Alonso and Hamilton are 3.75s. Perez is a 3.25.
I could agree to that. He finished on the podium, so I don't think you can give him any lower than a 3. But obviously, it's nowhere near a 4. Or I mean, to be fair, I gave Perez a 5 in Japan.
Yeah, you did.
And I thought Perez did everything he could. He was aggressive. He was going. But I think in comparison, it wasn't as good as a weekend for Perez. Yeah. Lando Norris.
5. I've already put it in.
Yeah, I mean, now you see. Is it a 5 because of that sprint turn 1? If he didn't make the mistake and stayed alongside Hamilton, he would have finished a lot higher up in the sprint. Does that drag it down to a high 4?
No.
Needless to say, I'm playing devil's advocate here because, don't get me wrong, by far, probably my driver of the weekend, it beat his teammate very comprehensively, finished on the podium, beat a Red Bull, put it on pole.
I'm not long-winding this. It's a 5. I'm not playing devil's advocate with you at all. It's a 5. You know it's a 5. You're just trying to make something of it. It's a 5. Yes, turn 1, little mistake there. However, he couldn't foresee the marbles doing that to him at that point. Like, a lot of drivers, especially during the race, were hanging it around the outside. Just unfortunate that Lewis put on that such of a squeeze.
Yeah.
To him. So, no, it's a 5. At the end of the day, he's still got points in the sprint race.
But the thing is, if he sticks
still beat his teammate by comfortably.
The thing is, if Lando kept it first, in the sprint into turn 1, do you reckon he could win the sprint?
Yeah, maybe he could have. But I think what's keeping it a 5 is the fact that he outqualified second place by 1.2 seconds in the sprint quali.
And he beat a Red Bull.
And he beat a Red Bull in the race.
Yeah,
and
that's
qualified 4th?
Yeah, he had a good quali.
Yeah, fuck it, it's a 5. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's a low 5, but I'll give him a 5
It's a
because
5.
he was my driver of the weekend, so I'll give him a 5. I think just a low 5 though. By the way, right?
Verstappen, 4.
Yeah, it's a 4 from Verstappen. And the
He
thing is,
qualified 4th.
he won both. He won both races and put it on pole. So people will say, "What the fuck?" But the thing is, when you hold Verstappen to such high standards, he got out qualified by 3 drivers in the sprint quali, and also didn't get the fastest lap. So by Verstappen's standards, it's a high 4, but it's not quite a 5. You know?
Yeah, it's a 4.
By Verstappen's standards, you know, we hold him to these high standards. He wins everything. It's a high 4. It is almost a low 5, but yeah, it's a 4 from Verstappen, I think.
Yeah, it's a 4. It's without doubt a 4. And Max Verstappen fans, if you've got a problem with that, swivel on it.
But yeah, that's been pretty much it for the driver ratings. Obviously, who is your driver of the weekend?
Norris.
Yeah, me too. And real quick, who's your flop of the weekend?
Don't even go in there. You know who it is. It's Lance Stroll. What a tosser.
Yeah, I guess. Well, that's sorted. Thank you very much for watching the Undercut podcast once again. It has been a pleasure. A bit of a longer one this time because obviously I think you had to explain a lot of things, and also it was a sprint, so we were bound to talk about more stuff. But don't miss the Miami Grand Prix, which is also a sprint weekend, coming in 2 weeks' time. We'll be live. Both of us will be there for that one, luckily, for all 4 sessions.
And we may have Ethan.
Finally. Fucking how long has it been?
Miami a sprint weekend?
Yes, sir. Miami is a sprint weekend.
Fuck me.
We've got, by the way, so it's like 5 o'clock till like 10 at night, both Friday and Saturday. Well, no.
No, because it's practice.
No, it's just Saturday.
We're not going live for practice.
No. Sorry, just Saturday. But Friday is late, though, and Sunday's late as well. But yeah.
We're spending the day together then on Saturday, by the look of things.
We're spending the whole fucking weekend together by the sounds of it. Right, well,
we'll have Ethan.
Wait, we might have Ethan, yeah, exactly. Right, we'll see you in a bit.